I do Pilates, and I was in the Pilates studio last night. We were talking about how our 20s were so angst ridden. Like it was a really hard decade because it was like this constant experimentation of, I don't know what I want to be. This doesn't feel good. And I don't know what to do. And I grew up in my generation where it was like, shut up and figure it out. I don't want to hear about your problems. And so it felt very overwhelming and a lot. And so when I think about how the parallels came together, I started figuring out, so it's kind of like the same thing. I'm building a house right now. It's kind of like the same thing with my designer. I can tell you like that, I don't like it, but it's really hard for me to tell you how I visualize what I do like. And so I found that same thing happening at that moment in my life. Like I didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't, and this dream is shattered and I felt like a loser. And so, I started thinking about what I didn't want to do. And then I started thinking about what I did like, though, not what I wanted to do, but what do I like? I like people. I've always liked people. And I've always been fascinated by like what makes somebody tick. And my husband does a deep eye roll all the time. He's like, dude, you do not need to put this person through the ringer. And I'm like, I'm not putting them through the ringer. I'm just genuinely curious. Like, I want to know what makes them tick. I want to know what's up. And all of a sudden I'm asking questions of like, so when you were, 5 years old, tell me about that. And he's like, you're not their therapist. Like,
I was just going to say therapy may have also been a solid career choice for you.
I would be a horrible therapist because people wouldn't do what I'd want them to do. And I'd be absolutely invested and there would be no boundary. I'd be like, why are you not doing this? Like, no, that would not, no therapy. No.
Okay, that's fair.
So, although we do tell our clients, like we are one part therapist because just by way of what we do, here we go. But that being said, all things considered, I realized I like people and I like business. What do I do with that? Well, there's so much to do there. Long story short, my very first job was a technical recruiter and the rest is history. And so I got into being a technical recruiter. I have no idea who that person is. I should have never done that role. That is nothing that I would ever do today. I don't get it. My brain does not compute that way. And that particular company, I joined in the 90s and late 90s. And then this thing called 9/11 happened. And right after that, there was a massive recession. And my company was not equipped to take that on. And I survived a bunch of layoffs. And the moral of the story of how I got into all this is the owner of the company, who I absolutely adored, sat me down and said, as you can tell, there's nothing to recruit for. And we don't want to lose you. And if you want to stay here, you're going to have to get into sales. And so I got into enterprise sales, selling services. And I sucked at it. I had no idea what I was doing. There was no training. There was no enablement. There was nothing. It was just like sink or swim, whatever you could do. And it was too little, too late. And then I was there until the company wasn't there anymore. And I needed a job. It was a recession. I ended up getting a job with a company that I was not interested in whatsoever, in an industry that I thought was a super snooze fest. And the person that I interviewed with, he was wicked smart and I really liked him. And I felt like I could learn from him. And he took a shot on me. And I remember them hiring me. I was a guinea pig. And all of the cards were stacked against me. I came into working with a person that actively was working against me, like all these things. And he and I just formed this bond. And he taught me so many things that I take with me today. And he made me a better human, a better seller, a better business person, and the rest is history. And I got into sales, and then it was always around people, HR tech, talent acquisition, solving people problems. And lo and behold, I found myself in startups, and I found myself working with very technical people that knew that they needed sales, didn't necessarily love sales, and the juxtaposition of that as you're building teams. I got into leadership way too early. I was horrible. I demoted myself. And I realized that the same things that made me really successful in my sales career, because I've sold over $100 million in revenue on my own without partnerships, without marketing, without any of that, that also is what makes recruiting go really, really well. And so my husband had seen me go through this roller coaster ride of early stage startups. And I am the early sort of like V1, figure it out, build something, build an enterprise sales team. And then when it starts getting too big and too messy and too bureaucratic, that's not my jam. And I peace out. And he had seen me go through this. And it was usually after funding. And he was like, I'm sick of watching you go through this. I started my first company in 2008 with the gentleman that took the shot on me initially. That totally changed my career. 2008 was 2008. We had no idea that another recession would hit. We were self-funded and bootstrapped. And I had the heartbreaking conversation with him to say, I got to take a time out. That was like a very low point in my career. Luckily, Yahoo took me back. I had worked there before. So moral of the story, don't burn a bridge. On the way out, you never know when you need that bridge again. And 2015 hit. My husband was like, you're going through this all over again. And for as much as you care and as hard as you work and the things that you do, how about you do it for yourself again? And the rest is history. And so that's how it all happened. Why did I do what I did? This is actually, I think, interesting. When he told me that, I was like, but I don't know what I want to do. So here I'm again and feeling like I'm in my 20s. Like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And I remember this thing had happened with the company that I was with that was really hard to go through. And for 3 nights, I couldn't sleep. And all I did, I felt like Forrest Gump, all I was doing was walking. Like, I just could not sleep. I was like this rando woman in the middle of the night walking around my neighborhood, like trying to just like process it all. And that's when my husband was like, time out. We got to figure this out. And he's a CPA. He has his own firm. And he was like, guess what? Guess what I'm going to do for you? I'm like, what are you going to do for me? Like, love me, support me, hug me? He's like, all those things. But here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to incorporate you. I'm like, incorporate what? Say what? I don't even know what I want to do. And he's like, I don't care. Figure it out. You're going to get incorporated. Give me a name. I'm like, what? Avenue Talent Partners came out of me thinking through, well, that could be a lot of different things. I don't really know, but I want whatever it is that I do to be personal to me. So my name is Amy Elizabeth Volas, and AVE, those are my initials. So it's very personal to me without being about me. But I liked the juxtaposition between an avenue. It's a path. It's an intersection. There are decisions being made. One decision makes without having any business plan, without having any idea of what I was doing. I got incorporated and the rest is history. So that is the story of how it all came together. And the big takeaway was being in HR tech, being in the people business, being in sales in those places, and hearing people struggle with hiring, not just hiring, but then keeping people, was always something that turned me on.
For those of you listening, if you enjoyed our episode, please rate, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, subscribe on YouTube, connect with me on LinkedIn. And until next time, we'll see you soon.